I didn't even know where the record button was on here. I like literally forgot where to press record. Hi Arrows, I'm Kashan and you are watching The Book Archer. Woo! This has been a long time coming. I'm gonna have a separate video on why I've been away for so long, but I will talk about that in another video. Today I just wanted to come to y'all with my March wrap up. March I decided to do a theme, and my theme was to read all new releases. So 80% of these books came out in March, with the exception of 2 of them that are still new releases. Let's go ahead and get started. The first book that I want to mention is The Bells by Dhonielle Clayton. This is the only book I read that came out in February. So this was the one book that I read in the month of February, which is why I decided to go ahead and include it in this wrap up. I'm a huge fan of Dhonielle Clayton's Tiny Pretty Things duology, which she co-wrote with Sonia Sharapotra. The Bells follows this main character, Camilla Beauregard. Camilla exists in this fantastical world where she is a belle. In their world, humans don't really have any physical identifiers like gray. I don't know how to explain it, but basically if you're a belle, you can make people look however they want to look. Every so often there's this competition amongst all the belles, and one of them gets chosen to be the favorite, and when you're the favorite you get to live in the queen's palace and you're revered among the whole nation. But of course it's one of those stories where everything is not what it seems. Overall, I gave this book a 3.5 out of 5 stars. I did love the world that Dhonielle built. It was so rich, so descriptive, it was easy to see. It had a few similarities to some other dystopian fantasy type of worlds, but there was just something very unique about it at the same time. So I definitely think that this story is anchored in the setting. Some of the things that I didn't really like about this book is that I felt like not enough happened in here. I don't feel like the main character was really driving the plot a lot, and there was so much potential for things to be happening. Since there wasn't really a lot that was driving the plot, it didn't feel like a lot was at stake. I didn't really get that feeling. But still, I did love this book. I will be continuing on with the series. I think it did a great job of really addressing some of the things that are going on in our world today when it comes to vanity, when it comes to how people really perceive themselves on the inside, and kind of like the obsession our society has with physical appearance and all of those things. And if you guys would like a review on this book, then I will be sure to do that on any of the books mentioned in this video. So that's The Bells by Dhonielle Clayton. I give this one a 3.5 out of 5 stars. The next book I read, y'all, Restore Me by Tahereh Mafi. This is the first book in the companion trilogy to the Shatter Me trilogy. As you guys know, I loved the Shatter Me trilogy, most of it. I hated the first book. Like, let's be real, it was really annoying. But I found that Tahereh Mafi does this thing where she creates an overall story arc and then she splits it up into 3 books. So when you read the first book, it's just like, it is when the character is literally like in the pit. You have to really stay with it to see everything manifest, but once you do, it's so worth it and it's so satisfying. That's basically how I felt about Restore Me. This book literally picks up where Ignite Me ends off. I won't say how that happened because spoilers. I don't know how I felt about this book. Like, I didn't dislike it, but I also did not love it, but it was exactly what I expected it to be. I just also do not know how I feel about how she did my bae in this book. But the main thing about this book is, wow, that cliffhanger at the end. The cliffhanger in here was so good. Like, I was like, oh, I can't wait for the next 2 books. The Shatter Me trilogy, I had the opportunity to really just binge read those because the last book was literally coming out a week after I started the whole series. So I read book 1, read book 2, a week later book 3 dropped, and then I devoured it. I really would suggest, if you haven't read Restore Me yet, that you might as well just wait and then binge read the whole trilogy. It'll be a higher level of enjoyment because I don't want to have to wait another year to find out what happened, because some crazy stuff happened at the end of this book and I'm like, oh, so you just gonna leave it like that, Tahereh? You just gonna leave us hanging like that? If you're a fan of the Shatter Me trilogy, then definitely pick this one up, but you know how Tahereh does with her first books. I still enjoyed this one. I would say I gave this a 3.75 stars out of 5 stars. Really love the new characters that were introduced in this one as well. Okay, so the next book that I have to talk to you guys about. This book comes out, I believe, on April 3rd. This has been one of my most anticipated reads for the year. I was lucky enough to get my hands on this arc, and holy cannoli! Dread Nation by Justina Ireland. Like, first of all, get into this cover. Whoo! This book takes place during post-Civil War America. It's about this main character, Jane McKean, who goes to this like zombie fighting school. And this time, after like Gettysburg happened, zombies popped up. So they are all trying to fight like these zombies and restore America at the same time. So you get like this blend of post-Civil War historical fiction / The Walking Dead, and it's so good. I love this book. I love the main character. Jane McKean has like this snarky badassery to her that just cannot be topped. I really liked how raw and gritty this was without it being way too much. It still definitely felt like YA, but at the same time there was this aspect of so much morally grayness going on, and nothing was black and white in this book. The plot took off in directions that I wasn't expecting from just reading the synopsis, and that is very important because I feel like nowadays when you read a synopsis, you know half the story. I loved all of the supporting characters in here. I really feel like Justina Ireland's writing was well developed in here. I was engaged, and I was engaged in all of the stories going on, not just her main plot, but like the subplot. I was connected to all of the characters, and she does a great job at really addressing some major issues of that time period without it feeling preachy, because this book was still a lot of fun, but there is definitely like some tea in here too that Justina Ireland, which I mean is Justina Ireland, you know to expect that. It surprised the crap out of me. I wasn't like expecting not to enjoy it. This like satiated a taste that I didn't even know I was craving. Dread Nation, this comes out April 3rd. If you're thinking about reading it, then read it, then get it, then do it. 4.75 stars. I love this. After reading those 3 books, I just kind of wanted to take a little break. I decided to pick up The Poet X. This was another new release that came out in March. If you haven't seen the spoken word by her, you need to check it out. If you're a fan of any stories following Latina main characters, this is a really good one to check out. The main character is Dominican. I believe she lives in Harlem. You definitely get to see her talking a little bit about her culture in here, and as well as a lot of the struggles and the pressure that she really feels from her parents, from her mom. I think she grows up in like a Catholic household, so there is a lot of expectations on her, but this is really just a coming of age story where she's just trying to find herself, to find her voice. And she really addresses a lot of the things that young women go through with having their bodies sexualized, and no matter what you do, you know, people objectifying you. She kind of discusses that in here as well. The whole thing is written in poem and verse, so if you're a fan of Jacqueline Woodson, I definitely would recommend this. Or if you're a fan of like Ellen Hopkins books, I haven't read Ellen Hopkins, but I think they're written in the same style. It made me cry. It's not technically a sad book, but I just got so emotional when she was talking about how spoken word is really an outlet. There's just so many things about it that I enjoyed. There were a few parts of it that I just didn't like just because I couldn't relate to them, and it kind of turned me off. So I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. The Poet X, pick this up if you get a chance. The next book that I read is To Kill a Kingdom by Alexandra Christo. This one has been highly anticipated as well. It's about like pirates and sirens. I don't know, it's just something about that mixture, and you add in fantasy that's like, yeah, I want some of that. The main character is a siren, and then the other main character, the male, he is a siren hunter. Now before I read this, I didn't realize that it was going to be a Little Mermaid retelling. I didn't really enjoy that aspect of it because I don't feel like it was necessary. I liked all of the characters in this book, and I was especially fond of the setting. This takes place in a fantasy world where they have over 100 kingdoms, and each kingdom has their own specialty or whatever they're known for. There's one kingdom that's just known for gold. There's another one that is supposed to be like a place of love. There's all of these different aspects, and I thought the main interesting thing about this is that this story doesn't really have a nation that's a superpower, which is something that you don't really see often. You can tell if this turns into like either a series or companion series that you have so much to explore beyond what was just shown in here. And the things that I didn't enjoy were the elements that we got that were from The Little Mermaid, because this is a book about freaking sirens, 100 different fantasy nations. You have pirates, and then you have this like journey that they're going on that is so interesting and just like fun little plot that I don't even feel they needed to add a retelling element in there. This plot moved really fast, so I liked a lot of the twists and the turns. The conclusion of everything was way too fast, so you didn't really get to be in it. It happened in like a chapter or two. The forgiveness was so quick when the betrayal was much bigger, and it just didn't make sense to me realistically. Do I recommend people read this? Yes. If she comes out with other books that either follow these characters or follow some other series in this world, will I read them? Yes. It's still a solid 4-star book. The last book that I read in the month of March, arguably the most highly anticipated for the year. This book has been buzzed about. It's been talked about. Children of Blood and Bone by Tomi, Adeyemi. Was this book a 5-star read for me? No. Did I still think it was phenomenal? Yes. This book takes place in, I believe, a fantastical setting of Nigeria. This kingdom of Orisha used to have magic. So this king came along and he wiped all the magic from the land and killed all the elder magi. So this story kind of takes place right when they're on this quest to kind of get magic back. It was action-packed and engaging from page 1. As soon as you read the story, it's great. You hooked. You get introduced to all the characters. The plot gets going. There's never a dull moment in here. I was fascinated by how rich, how vast this world was, and how invested I was in the characters in such a short time. There's a lot that happens right at the beginning, and I'm just like, no, like I'm rooting for them. So I really just kind of enjoyed being able to dive into a new fantasy series and not feeling like, okay, this is the first book in a fantasy. Let me let them lay the groundwork. Let me try to wrap my head around the world. It was just something about it that just felt so easy to digest. It definitely felt like a unique story. I like all of the different types of magic, and I enjoyed the push and the pull of the people who agreed with magic coming back, and then those who are like, wait a minute, this is something that we kind of need to have some type of control of, or people gonna be out here running amok. Wow, this is a debut. It was phenomenal. Now, the thing that made this book not a 5-star for me, cannot stand, did not like this romance. It was completely unnecessary. The book is not romance heavy at all. Like I said, I read 80% of the book read before the romance even came into play, and I was just like, what is this? This doesn't make any sense. Like, I hate this. Like, I was so aggravated with it. The time from the plot that we were so invested in, it got taken away because all of this focus had to be put on creating this BS romance that wasn't even believable and didn't make any sense. Reading those chapters was like, okay, can we just hurry up and get on with it, because I don't even like the love interest. Now, will that remain the love interest throughout the entire series? Who knows? Maybe, you know, Tomi is just setting us up. We'll see. We don't know. But I can see this as a movie vividly. I think the movie rights have been sold for it. Will I be continuing this series? Definitely, because I have no idea what's coming in the next one. This wraps up the first book very nicely, but it also leaves something to be desired for the second book. The story is definitely not over. You can tell that. I really wanted to see the main character develop and grow because she was doing so good there, and then she just started to upset me. Switching of Blood and Bone was like definitely worth the hype, but these are all of the books that I read in March, and then my one from February. If y'all want me to do reviews on any of these or all of these, just let me know. What books are you guys currently reading? What books did you read in the month of March? Do you have any thoughts and opinions on the books that I mentioned in this video? Leave it down in the comment section below. I haven't chatted with y'all in forever and I would love to. And don't forget to follow me on Twitter and Instagram at theBookArcher. I love y'all. I will see y'all in another video soon. Be on the lookout for a bookshelf tour really soon as well. I love y'all. Bye.